So I always say that to founders, you have to start with who you are. Why are you building this business? If you start from yourself, which is generally most of us start these businesses to solve our own problems, then you will understand your audience better than anyone else.
Hi everyone, welcome to Female Founder World. I'm your host, Jasmine Garnsworthy, and today I'm speaking with Alexandra Zatarain, the co-founder of 8 Sleep. So Alex, thanks so much for joining us and welcome to the show. Before we kind of get into your background and dig into how you have been building 8 Sleep, I wanted you to jump off by giving us an anchor point to let us know, where you're at with the company, how big you guys really are, and also in your own words, what the mission is, what the vision is for the business.
Yeah. Well, we're a health and wellness company focused on sleep fitness. We use technology to help people sleep better. We've been doing this for a few years now. We have right now in the market a couple of products that leverage our signature technology that allows you to understand how you're sleeping and how your key biomarkers are doing while you're asleep, and use that information to create the perfect environment for sleep. So that's what people know us best for. That's the product called the Pod that has cult following. People love it. People who use it definitely see a lot of improvement in their sleep. And we're actually quite a small team for what we do, for the revenue that we make and the money we've raised and our big vision. But like any startup, growing really fast, trying to build the plane while we're flying it.
And where are you guys based? Are you on the West Coast? Are you out of New York? Where's the team?
We're actually fully remote. We were based in New York City for quite a few years. The first year of the company, we were in San Francisco, right at the heart of Silicon Valley, and then moved to New York. We're there for a few years. And after March 2020, we decided to go fully remote, and we still are. I moved out of New York. I'm in Miami now, enjoying completely different weather and lifestyle. And yeah, people moved all over. We still have a product, what we would call like a hardware lab in New York City, where our hardware team that prototypes some of our hardware products can go in there and meet and obviously look at a lot of the progress that we make on our hardware, like the Pod and other products we're building.
Great. Okay, so let's rewind a minute. Can you take us back to a time before 8 Sleep and let us know a little bit about your background and your own path to entrepreneurship?
Yes, it was a while back because it's been quite a few years that we're working on 8 Sleep. And before joining my co-founders on 8 Sleep, I was working at a financial technology company in New York City. My background is in marketing, comms, PR, really, I would say hard words to break into. Like, it's not easy to start off with like these great jobs and these great careers in any of those fields, especially in New York that is so competitive. So I was just starting to kind of build for myself, I think, a path in an industry in New York, like finance, which, is very competitive, is very high paced, which I definitely wanted to be in. And then this idea came about, this idea that we could use technology to improve sleep. And how I stumbled upon it is that actually my co-founder, Matteo, is my husband. We've been together for like 10 years now. So that's how I discovered this thing that he came up with as a concept, because he wanted to fix his own sleep problems. He was struggling with some things and he started looking into space. He's an entrepreneur. He built a couple companies before. And so after he had formed a very strong idea and he had built a prototype of the technology with our other co-founder, Max, who's our CTO, they said, well, we want someone to bring this to market. And they kind of looked at me and said, oh, why don't you do it? And that's how I decided that I was going to do this. In all honesty, I didn't think about it as well. And becoming an entrepreneur, I just thought, yes, why not? Let's build this amazing thing. You guys trust me. I trust you. Let's make it happen. And anytime that someone kind of refers to me as an entrepreneur, it reminds me of like, yeah, I actually did start my own business.
And so what kind of area of the business are you focused on?
So I focus on everything brand marketing, customer acquisition. So everything related to that I've done through the history of the company, with more or with less of the responsibilities in that space. Sometimes we've had different people maybe lead different areas. We've obviously grown the team, so the team takes on more of the responsibilities directly, but I still lead the team that is doing everything in comms, brand, marketing, and customer acquisition.
Cool. And so what does the team look like at the moment? If you're leading marketing and brand, who else is leading other parts of the business, and like who's within your team?
So we actually have a team of executives in place. So beyond the founders, we have Matteo, who's my co-founder, he's the CEO. Max, who's our CTO, myself, who oversee brand and marketing. And then we have a head of operations who's also part of the executive team and a head of hardware product. And so we kind of cover all the main areas of the business. We are a pretty, I'd say, complex organization. You would think like a Peloton, right? We have to produce hardware, software, digital experience, operations, logistics. So there's a lot to it. And as founders, we couldn't cover it all. So we pretty early brought on board people who could lead those areas and build their own teams.
And when you're thinking about, so like a lot of the founders that we speak to are more in like the CPG space, like they're, the cost of their products are considerably lower than what you guys are doing. So I'm just really interested in how that elevated price point impacts how you go about customer acquisition, how you think about, that consideration period must be so much longer when you're talking about these really high price point items. How is that different to maybe like a typical CPG product?
There are two things to consider when you have a product that has such a high average order value, right? When you're selling it online. The first is that you need to focus on building trust. And you can artificially just come up with like trust, right? You really have to have a great product that people like. And then you have to put those moments of trust out there. A lot of reviews, a lot of collaborations with content creators, with people who love the product, with your own members creating UGC. So trust is a big portion of it because you're right, people take a very long time to actually purchase. It could be anything from 20 to 60 days. And so you need to be out there. There needs to be a lot of information for them when they do their research. The second consideration is that the learning cycles are a little bit longer, especially nowadays when all of us are spending money to acquire customers online. You want to get those signals very early on the different digital platforms where you're spending money. You want to see which ad is working better and which one's driving more conversions. Well, when it takes 20 to 60 days for someone to purchase, it's going to take time to see those signals, and it may require bigger budgets to actually be able to feed those signals into those platforms' algorithms. So you need to have sort of the patience, the resources, the planning of all of your testing to accommodate for these two things.
Interesting. When I think about, the products that you're offering now, I can think of so many different people or like groups of people who in themselves are completely different from each other who would find it useful. So how do you go, and it's quite different from, for example, someone who has a skincare brand that's focused to Gen Z and a certain skin type, like it's very specific. How do you go about thinking, okay, this is the right person to connect with now versus this person when, the way that you communicate with them must be so different?
Yes, we definitely had that issue because everyone in the world sleeps. And I think that there are a lot of parallels with the world of maybe skincare or beauty or, it's a very vast market, and you will perform better if you start small. Like I always say, you can't be all things to all people. Start with a niche, own it, build that community. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs find success. In our case, it was a decision. Like we had to decide where we wanted to start. And the way that we decided is we looked at why we started the business, and we looked at the DNA of us as founders and said, okay, what motivated us to build this? Who did we really build this for? For quite a few years, probably I'd say like 2 to 3 years of the company, we were almost testing our way into it. We were spending money on ads and landing pages and trying to see which audience would react better. And maybe it's like tired moms, and maybe it's executives, and maybe it's athletes. And you're almost like trying to find your personality by crowdsourcing it, which if you would think about it as a person, why would that work? Why would you go out in the world and ask them like, who am I? Who am I? Tell me, who am I? Right?
Yeah.
So I always say that to founders, you have to start with who you are. Why are you building this business? If you start from yourself, which is generally most of us start these businesses to solve our own problems, then you will understand your audience better than anyone else, rather than if you try to build for someone you don't know and you're trying to become an expert of. And so that's what we did. And that's how we came about with this idea of building a category of sleep fitness, because what we believe of sleep is that sleep is something that it's a means to an end. It's actually actionable. You can measure it, you can optimize. Like our view of sleep in this world is pretty unique. And so with such a strong point of view, we thought, well, there must be other people in the world that think the same that we do. Who are they and how do we connect with them? That was the easy part, right? Now we knew who they were. Now we knew how we could communicate with them. What was the language? It was just a matter of finding them. And that makes customer acquisition so much easier. That makes community building much easier too.
So who is the customer then? If it's you, are you talking about entrepreneurs? Is that kind of community that you're going after to begin with?
There are two things that define the 8 Sleep customer at the moment. The first are a set of kind of 3 pillars of their lifestyle. They are interested in health and wellness, they are interested in technology, and they have an interest for performance optimization. So probably, as you mentioned, a lot of entrepreneurs would fall in that category, right? And they're not just interested in these 3 things, they're already investing some time and money and they're building habits around these 3 pillars of their lifestyles. So that is a key kind of indicator. If you are within that group, we want to talk to you. We want to be in front of where you are reading and consuming media. The other piece of it is the relationship that they have with sleep. Like I said before, like sleep is massive. All of us sleep, thankfully, right? So we have this like huge addressable market for the future. But right now we are talking to a person who understands that sleep is important and is already doing something about it. They're investing in their sleep, whether they're buying an expensive bed or good pillows or sheets or gadgets or supplements, meditation, therapy. There's something that they're doing for their sleep already. We know that to be an iconic company like we want to be and like we know we can be, we need to grow from there, right? We need to be mass. We can be the Nike of sleep, really. And so the journey is to continue to build this movement so we bring more people to want to adopt the sleep fitness life. But eventually, we're also going to have to adjust our messaging because the people that we're trying to bring on board this movement are going to be less knowledgeable about sleep, less interested. They're not spending money on it yet. But it's only a matter of time. Like we're going to get there. And probably 2 years from now, our marketing is going to sound a little bit different. But the concept would always be the same, which is sleep is fitness. You can measure it. You can optimize it. It is a state of health. It is a state of well-being. We're making it something cool and desirable, which I think is the most exciting part for me from the brand side.
Coming from a finance background, how did you transition into a marketing role and a leadership marketing position? Was this very much like learning on the job? Had you had experience before, or did you undertake any formal kind of study? What was that transition for you?
I do think most of it I learned on the go, and I learned from people that were kind enough to give me some time and tell me what they had done for their companies. My background, like I did go to school for comms. So I studied communications. I did internships in comms and marketing and PR. And so I had enough knowledge about it, but I had never done it for a consumer technology company selling direct to consumers, right? It's completely different. I think like any entrepreneur, most of the times you're learning on the job. And that was something that was very important for me when I joined my co-founders. I was very clear and transparent with them because they had more years of experience than I did. And I told them, you guys are trusting me, but if I'm ever not the right person for this job, I'm not going to pretend to like own it and like, I want to be the CMO and like keep me here because I'm the founder, right? I'm going to do what's best for the business. And that's how we operate as founders. Is like, we believe that we're always learning, we're always challenging each other. We have seen ourselves grow through the years. And maybe at some point we are not going to want to do these roles anymore, or we're going to find people who are better suited for them.
And you and the team have been at this for a while, since 2012, is that right?
14.
Okay, 14. And, I'm really interested in, there are so many companies coming through in the sleep space, not necessarily, Smart Mattresses as a product, but there is a lot happening in sleep now, and particularly the last couple of years. And I think you guys were really early on that movement. What is that? Like, what is that opportunity that people are seeing?
It's a very exciting time to be building in sleep because it's almost like finally people are waking up to the realization that is very critical for health. If you look at the stats and the research that has been done in the past, sleep is more important than nutrition. And definitely more important than physical activity.
Oh, I would believe that.
Yeah, you would die sooner of sleep deprivation than food deprivation. So your body needs sleep much more than it needs food. And that's what makes it exciting to see that there's a lot of companies and tools services being built in the space because it's educating the world. And that's all we really care about, is that more people are healthy through their sleep. The opportunity, though, and specifically what we focus on doing at 8 Sleep, is to actually improve sleep. When we started building the company, what we noticed is that there were companies who were selling you mattresses or bedding or pillows that do a great job at doing that, but that doesn't solve the problem. That just gives you some level of comfort. Comfort's not enough. Then there were companies that were selling you pharmaceuticals, which are not good for you at all, right? Doesn't solve the problem, actually make things worse. And then there were companies that were giving you data, the wearables. Back in 2014, 2015, very kind of basic wearables were starting to enter the space by doing sleep tracking. Give you data, don't solve the problem. What we're really trying to do at 8 Sleep is saying, can we solve the problem? We started with temperature regulation because temperature is the number one issue for people to fall asleep and stay asleep. It's just like widely studied. It's something biological. It's just a function of our bodies where temperature plays a really key role in us being able to fall asleep and stay asleep. So we said, well, how do we address that? Because actually the environments in which we sleep on nowadays are hurting us, are making things worse. And just like that, we wanted to tick off that from the list and continue tackling all the other problems that may get in the way of a good night's sleep. We're focused on actual sleep improvement and proving to you that you can sleep better if you use our products.
Wow, that is super interesting. I definitely believe that around sleep being more important than food. It's something that I'm probably exactly your target customer, to be honest. I'm definitely someone who right now, I'm reading The Miracle Morning or something, which is basically the whole premise of the book is that waking up earlier and getting a better night's sleep makes you a better functioning human, and how important sleep is to having the life that you want, all of that. And I'm coming to the realization that I actually probably do need a better sleeping space and a setup and a better mattress and a better bedroom, and just all of these things that are just not conducive to a good night's sleep. So yeah, I'm probably exactly the target customer for you.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
So 8 Sleep has been through a really extensive fundraising process. What did you learn during that process that you think would be helpful to others who are maybe thinking about raising money and trying to work out whether it's the right thing for them, and also how to go about doing it successfully?
The first thing is what you mentioned, which is realizing if it's the right thing or not for your business. Raising money, I think, especially from venture capital, has become this sort of vanity metric. People think it's cool, but if your business doesn't need it, that's even better, right? If you can build a business that is less capital intensive, that's great. In our case, obviously it's not. We do a lot of investments in R&D and we build hardware. So it's completely different. But I do think if you don't need it, you don't have to do it. What we have learned is that the most important thing is to have investors that are aligned in your vision, especially when you're doing something that's a little out there, a little bit crazy, that's a mission-driven company. You want to get people on board who understand and really believe that what you're saying can be done and can help you get there. Just this morning, we announced our Series C. Actually, we just raised $86 million for that. And we were lucky enough to bring on board, thank you. We brought on board on the 8 Sleep board because he led the round. Antonio Gracias, who's on the board member with Tesla and SpaceX and a lot of these companies. And when we think about who we'd want to have on board, are people who have seen the journey of building these companies that at the beginning sound pretty crazy, but they're actually completely reimagining how things are done for humanity in different sectors of our lives.
Fascinating. I'm always really interested to ask founders in different sectors and different size companies what their days look like. So how do you structure your day? What's it look like at the moment?
It's a lot of work and a lot of sleep. I do sleep 8 to 9 hours every single night. I frequently post on my Twitter so people get to see that I really do sleep a lot. But it's not that fun or interesting. It's a lot of work. I think anyone who builds a business knows, no matter how big the business is, it takes a lot of grueling work every single day. Working out for me has become the best way to stay clear of mind, de-stress. So I do try to work out at least 3 to 4 times a week. That has been really, really helpful. Try to eat healthy at home. I work with my husband. So, we have, I think, a really balanced way of just integrating our work with our life at home. And dinner is kind of that moment that ends the day when we finally close our computers, we have dinner together, and then we go to bed. So not a lot happening in our lives other than building 8 Sleep and taking care of ourselves.
I'm sure that keeps you very busy. And do you have any resources that you can recommend that have kind of helped you along this path? Books, podcasts, groups that you're a part of, anything that you think people should get into if they're interested in building a business?
Yes, I always recommend one book from Andy Cunningham. It's called Get to Aha, AHA, Get to Aha, like the aha moment. It's a great book on positioning. We worked with Andy to do our own exercise and brand positioning for the company. And I would say it's been widely successful for us in terms of differentiating the business. It's a really easy read. I recommend it to anyone I talk to who wants to know how we did it. That one's a huge resource. And the second one for me has been Twitter, really being active in there. I think specifically if you're building for the community in more like technology driven businesses, highly recommend that you build your audience there, that you're active, that you try to understand who are the players in the space. At the end of the day, as we all know, it's mostly about who you know in this world, no matter what you're building. I think Twitter has been a great resource for us in the tech community.
Are there any people specifically that you think are great to follow who are super active in tech or entrepreneurship?
Well, a couple of women that come to mind. I love following Kat Cole, former CEO of Focus Brands. Absolutely amazing, badass businesswoman. She also has a newsletter, great presence on Twitter, great person to follow. Holly Liu is another one. I met her when she was visiting partner at Y Combinator. She founded a company called Kabam, which she sold for, I think, $1 billion or over $1 billion a few years ago. Another great person, has a great newsletter, talks frequently about like what it's like building a business as a female founder. Now I'll add a third one, who's Polina Marinova, who has another great newsletter called The Profile. Also very active on Twitter, and her newsletter focuses more on profiling interesting, high-performing individuals in the world from all spheres of life, which is very inspiring. Former journalist, so she does great writing.
For entrepreneurs who want to kind of like, build a bit of a profile, particularly in that tech space, which I feel like is big on Twitter, a lot of these CPG brands and like especially in the beauty and fashion space are more focused to like TikTok and Instagram seem to do really well for them and even for connecting with other people in the community. But if you're looking at Twitter, what kind of things do you think play well or work well if you're trying to build a profile?
People love to know what it's like building your company. There's always someone who's just starting. So even though you may think you're like early stage, what do I know about this? You know something, you have something to share. That's a sort of like building in public is really popular on Twitter. Share your learnings, share what's going well, what's not, what's an interesting conversation you had this week, what's something interesting you read. That's a great way to get started. And the more you contribute and share knowledge, people will start following you because they want to be a part of that journey and part of like learning through your own experience.
That's a great insight. Alex, thanks so much for coming on the show, for sharing your story, and congratulations on the latest round.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. And as always, if you did enjoy it, please leave us a 5-star review. It's how people find the show and it's how we get great guests like Alex.